Expressed on this program are not necessarily those of CNS Channel 6.
Another edition of Facing the Nation. I'm Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us. First off, I apologize. We were not on the air last week because, of course, GPL has been unkind to us, not only to Channel 6, but they were unkind to the entire Georgetown last week Friday, so we apologize for not being here. And yes, I am fully blaming GPL because it's their fault. But I'm happy to be back with you again this week. This week we're going to be talking health, of course, at the beginning of our program. And on the second half of the program, I've been promising you him for weeks. One of the newest members of Parliament, APNU AFC members of Parliament. He's also here, so we will be talking with him a little later on in the program. But for now, we're dealing with health. Some of you can recall last year, that was 2018, the Ministry of Public Health held its first, I have the guest here to correct me if I'm saying the wrong thing, but last year they held their first exposition. It was at the Sophia Exhibition Center. Some persons call it a health fair, but we'll clear all of that up. Another year is here. It's here again this year, and we'd like to begin today's program by talking about that, which is coming up on the 5th of June. It runs from the 5th of June to the 8th of June 2019. On that note, it is my pleasure to welcome to Facing the Nation Dr. Alana Paris. She is the government medical officer attached to the Audiology department. That's the first time today I heard that word, and she'll tell you what that is about. Dr. Paris, welcome to Facing the Nation. All right, great to have you. And returning, he was here last year and he told you a lot about vector control and all of that. So he is back, Mr. David Williams. He is the chief inspector in that department. Welcome back to Facing the Nation.
Guyana.
Yes. You remember, viewers, he was nervous last year, but I hope he's not this year. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about, and of course, beginning with you, Dr. Paris, let's talk about it's an exposition, not a fair. Am I correct in saying exposition instead of health fair?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar.
Combination of both.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the audiology department, because I'm sure I'm not the first person who's hearing that word for the first time today. Let's talk about that and some of the services that they provide. Of course, you're going to link it with the fact that there will be a booth at Sophia from the 5th to the 8th of June.
Yes, so as you might have heard, I am Dr. Alana Paris, Government Medical Officer attached to the Audiology Department. At this department, we deal with hearing loss and imbalance. I'm working at the GPHC, the Georgetown Public Hospital, which is the central clinic, and then we have several satellite clinics throughout the 10 administrative regions, with the exception of Region 8, which we hope to have one soon in this region. Our department, on a daily basis, to have an idea of what we do hearing tests for a range of persons, ranging from, you have the elderly who would have like age-acquired hearing loss, persons who would have experienced sudden hearing loss due to trauma to the ear, might have had some accident at work, something exploded in the ear or something. Persons who work in factories or noisy areas, basically persons who are exposed to a lot of noise constantly. Along with this, we also do ear screening for newborns as well as young children. That's basically our services that we provide.
Do you find that it's in high demand? Do you have patients, I should say, coming constantly for this particular service?
Yes, so, well, we have a system where we have the babies on, when they're discharged from the hospital, the mothers are urged to bring them across to us to be screened. All newborns are screened. And apart from that, we have we find more elderly persons coming in. they have age-induced hearing loss. They come to be
Okay.
investigated to be fitted with hearing aids if need be. And we have some children, well, this is a constant or common problem we're finding now, where children are like 4 years old and so on, and the parents didn't really detect that they had a hearing loss, so they detected later on. Maybe they went to some health center for something else, and the doctor detected it and sent them to us. So we have children like that, so we then have to try to work with them. But by then it's kind of late, but
Almost
we still
too far
yes, we
gone.
still try to work with them.
Because
so we have
imagine-
those children.
Imagine you're having a child who you think is just in our language, the way we speak, is a hardest child. The child just don't listen to me. Then
That's a common
so
thing,
then
that
you
this child
right,
hard
and you
ears,
don't
this child-
know that the child really and truly can't hear you.
And
So
then some parents say, oh, each child is different, and we had family that talk late and so on.
Oh.
That's really not normal, and you need to bring your children in as soon as possible. You need to be more attentive first of all, and when you detect this, bring them in. I urge you to bring them in.
you got, because even though we didn't speak last year, you were also at the exposition last year. You had a booth. Again, were people by then already familiar that this booth is for this purpose, and we could, did you find that you got a flock of persons there coming for the service? I mean, at the exposition of itself last year.
Well, we had a fair amount of persons, but I think it could have been better. What you found happening was persons were more attracted to booths that were giving away big things and so
Yeah.
on. So that was actually a learning experience for us. This year we were attempting to have a little like promotional items and so on, things to attract them, and they'll have to answer a question or two or play some game to get it, of course.
Okay. I'll definitely stop by the booth. Don't know if I'll be able to play whatever game it is, but Mr. Williams, let me pull you in the conversation. Last year, you talked about a lot about and the fact that people were not necessarily paying attention to vector control and vector control services. What was your experience, even before you remind the public what your department is all about? What would have been some of the experiences that you faced last year at the expo? I mean, even after coming not only here, but it was widely publicized. Do you find that persons latched onto it and they supported the booth?
Okay, good afternoon, Guyana, once again. Last year experience for the first Health Expo, what we found is that persons, because of persons didn't know much about vector control service. Some people doesn't know what's vector control or vector control service. Sometimes what bring persons closer is because for the previous years we had some vector-borne diseases that people learned at the expo. For example, Zika, and then we have chikungunya, then we had lymphatic filariasis, which is here. And we started doing the mass drug administration at giving persons for filaria.
Yeah.
So some people had some sort of idea after, had some idea after what really vector-borne diseases was. But after that expo and the little information that we give to the public, some people try to grasp as much information because people come to our tent and we had IEC material to them, but we had one general across the board IEC material to give to the public. But this year we want to give to the public persons from all ages because we're dealing with poor children, school age, and adult. So we want to make these IEC materials information so persons can understand really what is vector control and what are vector-borne diseases. I will even go as far to explain once again a recap of last year.
Yes.
Vector control. Vector control are methods that we use to eradicate or eliminate breeding sites of vector. That some of that vector control methods are some people might see us passing in the street with a vehicle with a machine blowing smoke that's fogging. Then you're going to see some staff coming and visit your yards. We're going to put some chemicals in the water. That's to prevent the mosquito larvae from growing.
This is happening
Elimination.
countrywide.
That's going countrywide now. We're doing the countrywide because you have to remember Guyana is endemic to vector control. The 10 endemic administrative regions are endemic to vector-borne diseases. Some region has by only have 1 or 2 vector-borne diseases, while some have 3 and 4 vector-borne diseases being transmitted within the region. So that is the method that we use. We come and spray the wall, that one metal, we call it indoor residual spraying. We spray the wall with environmental friendly chemical that will kill the mosquitoes. We do outdoor spraying also. We also educate people and get them to understand that, look, please clean, don't leave any can and drum and these things for breeding sites so that the vector can go there. That is the vector control part of the program.
Before you go on to the other parts, in terms of, and I like the fact, I always like the fact that you go directly to the people and you say, well, ensure that they're not certain, your yard is not in a certain state. I'm not sure if this is your area, but are there sanctions maybe for people? Because sometimes people just don't listen. But are there sanctions in place for people who break these laws? Because again, you're not only endangering yourself, but your neighbors.
Years ago, there is a law that persons can be fined for breeding. There is a law.
Okay.
But by times change, everything, so it is there. There is a law. You could be fined for having breeding sites, could fine for get your yard untidy and these things. There is a law, right? And that law, really and truly, this morning I was speaking to the doctor from the town hall, and we were talking about working in collaboration to fight to get these things back on track, so that we could start to get elimination of these breeding sites, to start get some vector control measures back in place.
Okay.
Because we really need it right now in the city, and we really need it in all the regions. We need it right now.
Okay, all right. You wanted to talk about another aspect apart from the inspecting aspect of vector control services?
Well, the other part of vector control service that we did are the vector-borne diseases. We have 5 to 6 different types of vector-borne diseases being transmitted in here. And we have one key primary mosquito or vector that can transmit 4 different types, 4 different species of 4 different types of diseases. For example, we call the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which transmit dengue fever. You have chikungunya, Zika, and also yellow fever that you rule out. But that mosquito is capable enough for transmitting all 4 of these diseases. While we have the Culex mosquito also that give us lymphatic filaria, the same what I talked about before that gives you Bigfoot.
It's okay. The Guyanese public understands that. Yes.
The mosquito, this mosquito also gives is around here. Then we have the Anopheles mosquito. We have 2 species of that. One live on the coast and one live interior location. That gives you malaria. Then also we have leishmaniasis. Some people see it as a big sore ulcer on the skin, but it's a sandfly. No, it's a sandfly that gives you that lay the eggs and the larva, and then it take part of the skin and leave ulcer. You will find this amongst miners and persons working in the interior, like doing logging, mining, and even persons who are residents in the interior location.
I guess this is the same thing when you hear some people would say, oh, he has or had a bush sore or something. It's the same thing?
Yes, that we call bush, yes.
Yes, bush, yes.
So,
Thank you, Dr. Parks.
Yeah. So that we want the public also to understand, because some people, we want them to know that these things are vector-borne diseases and how they come, because people have different names and different ways that how these things come.
It's like you must get these things, and people don't understand. You can avoid them.
Yeah, you can avoid them. The point that we want to, the point that we want to put out to the public is that there must preventative measures,
Okay.
community participation in preventive measures, things that they could use, things that could prevent them from getting these diseases. One thing I missed, which I supposed to introduce for us, was what is a vector? When people hear the word vector, people think is it as a mosquito or no, people think it as just as an insect only. But a vector, it's any mammal, bird, insect, arthropod that can transmit a disease from one person to the next.
To the next,
That is a
okay.
vector. So we may look at it and say that, vector, the fly just bite you and this thing, but it's a mammal also. So just put it in consideration. So at this year Health Expo, we will have enough IC material with all what I've just said, so that into the school children and everybody, we put some in graphic and a lot of other education material to give to the public. And I do hope that the public to take in more, because last year we had quite a few persons came in, and then some people after come and ask questions what this is for or what this is for, after system explaining to them, then some people get aware and said, look, well, okay, I have to do this and I have to clean up my yard and get my act together.
Okay.
So that's really
All right, great. Lots of information to take there. I have to almost begin to wrap up our conversation, but I just want both of you again to, remind the public why it's important to take part, visit the booths and so on. Remember, of course, the main aim of this conversation is also to promote the Health Expo, the Ministry of Public Health Health Expo that's coming up. Dr. Paris, you did talk earlier, and for those of you who are now joining, indeed, yes, the two guests today, they are here to basically promote their departments and their roles in the Health Expo, Ministry of Public Health Health Expo that's coming up on the 5th of June to the 8th of June. Dr. Paris is from the audiology department. You did talk about the importance of babies being checked and so on. And of course, I know you can only speak for the Georgetown Hospital, is it, where it's a requirement. Once there's a new baby, they must be checked out. Do we need to do more public relations, public information to ensure that even the of course, viewers, I can't speak for, I'm not a medical person, and I can't speak for the private institutions, but do you believe that everyone, especially babies being born in private institutions, that they can also come across to the Georgetown Hospital and have their babies, the hearing checked?
Yes, and I urge them to, they should.
Okay.
Because hearing loss, because it's something that cannot be seen, people tend to drag their foot on it or ignore it or so. But think about it, a child born with a hearing loss or who develops hearing loss around the time of birth, more than likely would not develop speech. Without speech, well, if they're not hearing, no speech. Without speech, you can't really foster any healthy relationships growing up as a child. They can't have any, basically little to no education at school. There is the whole stigma attached to it. And then they basically can't function on their own as an adult, so they're kind of dependent on other persons for life. So you deteriorate your child's quality of life by denying them that opportunity. So I urge all persons, especially persons with newborn babies, whether it's private hospital, Georgetown Hospital, to bring your child, make sure that they're hearing well, they don't have any hearing defect or something.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so very much to both of you. Viewers, remember both departments will be at the Health Expo coming up from June 5 to June 8. As we progress, as we get closer to the date, we will have more persons from various institutions, various departments in the Ministry of Public Health coming here and talking to you about it. Again, again, it's not only about promoting the actual activity from the 5th to the 8th, but it's also about, and I know both guests will agree with me, it's also about promoting good health, things to do that will preserve your health. So, lady and gentlemen, I hope I haven't missed anything. I hope you haven't missed anything.
Well, I just wanted to.
Go ahead, Dr. Paris.
I hadn't stated what we will be doing at our booth this year. So, this year we'll be offering services of otoscopy, which is the physical exam of the ear.
Of the year.
So, we'll be looking into the ear using the otoscope, and apart from that, if you have an issue that we can't deal with on the spot because the situation doesn't lend itself to it with all the noise and so on, we can't use certain equipment there, we would give you a date and you could come in so that we could rectify your problem. Apart from that, we'll have educational material to be given out, like pamphlets and flyers and so on, and we will have posters on display so you can educate yourself.
Okay, and you did promise you may have
And
a game or
the
two.
promotional items.
Again, thank you so very, very much to both of you for coming on Facing the Nation. Viewers, if you're now tuning in, this would have been a conversation with Dr. Alana Paris. She is the Government Medical Officer attached to the Audiology Department at the Ministry of Public Health, and Mr. David Williams, Chief Inspector, Vector Control Services. To both of you, thank you very much for coming on Facing the Nation. If you missed the conversation a little later on in the day, you can catch it on my YouTube channel and, of course, on our usual Facebook pages. This is Facing the Nation. We'll take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we will be talking with new Member of Parliament, new Government Member of Parliament, Mr. Reynard Ward. Stay with us.